Welcome once again to Noir Alley, coming to you from Bar 355 in Oakland, California. Don't get too comfortable, because today we're paying a visit to the Women's Penitentiary for one of the most misunderstood movies of the classic Hollywood era. Since its release in 1950, Caged has come to be known as a camp classic. That's largely because since this film was made, the tropes of prison films, when enacted by an all-female cast, have mainly been used as fodder for sexploitation movies. When I came of age, it was a rite of passage to sneak into R-rated pictures like The Big Birdcage and Chained Heat, to watch Pam Grier and Sybil Danning fight their way through the big house while failing to keep their clothes on. And once Tom Eyen created his 1975 stage parody, Women Behind Bars, with the warden played by drag superstar Divine, all whips were instantly and retroactively reclassified as camp. FYI, whip, WIP, is official hipster designation for all women in prison movies. Women have been getting brutalized behind bars in movies since the silent era, when Cecil B. DeMille made a couple of trailblazing whips, Manslaughter and The Godless Girl. Barbara Stanwyck did time in the pre-code melodrama Ladies They Talk About, based on a play written by actress Dorothy Mackay when she was in the big house, convicted of being an accessory in the death of her husband. Early whips always had two things in common. They were written by women, and they all featured a saintly male priest or social reformer who steered the star to redemption. Which brings us to today's film, also written by a woman. Virginia Kellogg had a hand in two of the most testosterone-heavy films of the era, T-Men and White Heat. Both were based on her original stories. As a former reporter, Kellogg's strong suit was authenticity, based on first-hand research. And for Caged, she went the whole 9 yards. She'd brought the idea to Warner Brothers producer Jerry Wald in 1948 under the title Women Without Men. Wald talked the studio into sending Kellogg around the country to investigate the inner workings of women's prisons. In one case, Kellogg was incarcerated for 2 weeks and treated like any other prisoner. From her perspective, there was nothing campy about the experience. It scared the hell out of her. She telegrammed Wald that she was learning shocking facts that far surpassed The Snake Pit, the 1948 film that revealed the horrors inside mental institutions. Kellogg's investigative essay, Inside Women's Prison, was published in Collier's magazine to coincide with the release of Caged. Her descriptions of institutional corruption and the ritual humiliation of prisoners hit especially hard because the inmates were women. Kellogg expressed contempt for the prison matrons, whom she revealed were often on the payroll of crime syndicates or related to politicians and just hanging on long enough to get a pension. Kellogg was so unnerved by the experience and fearful of repercussions, she kept a gun in her purse wherever she went. Writer Bernard Schoenfeld, who'd already scripted 2 noir gems, Phantom Lady and The Dark Corner, was hired by Jerry Wald to turn Kellogg's research into a screenplay. By this time, Jack Warner had changed the title to Locked In, which Wald hated. There would be many name changes before the studio hit on the perfect title. Wald's initial inspiration was to cast, now take a deep breath, fans, Bette Davis as Warden Benton and Joan Crawford as naive new fish Marie Allen. Whatever happened to Convict 93850? But both actresses, of course, wanted to play the Marie Allen role, so that epic pairing would have to wait a few more years. Patricia Neal turned down the role of the warden, telling Wald she had no interest in supporting, quote, whoever played the Plum role. For that, Wald considered Doe Avedon, Betsy Drake, and Ruth Roman, before settling on Warner contract player Eleanor Parker, who'd spent several years as a reliable second lead, but had never gotten anywhere near a part this juicy. Venerable character actress Agnes Moorehead signed on as the warden, playing for her a rare, sympathetic character. In truth, the warden isn't the second lead. That would be prison matron Evelyn Harper, the villain of the piece, for which there was ever only one casting choice. 6'2", 230-pound Hope Emerson, who'd made a huge impression a couple of years earlier in Cry of the City, intimidating tough guy Richard Conte. Emerson created one of the most memorable villains of all time, terrorizing a terrific cast that includes Betty Gard, Jan Sterling, Ellen Corby, Lee Patrick, Olive Dearing, Jane Darwell, and Gertrude Michael. The cell block is chock full of great actresses, none of whom wears a speck of makeup in this decidedly unglamorous film. The picture earned 3 Oscar nominations: Best Actress for Eleanor Parker, Virginia Kellogg and Bernard Schoenfeld for Original Story and Screenplay, and Hope Emerson as Best Supporting Actress. From 1950, directed by John Cromwell, here is the mother of all woman in prison movies, Caged. As I mentioned at the top, before Caged, women in prison films always ended with a hard-luck female con redeemed through the guidance of a male do-gooder. That guy never shows up in Caged. Far from rehabilitating her, prison ruins Marie Allen, turning an innocent young woman into a hardened criminal. This was not something easily snuck past the production code's chief censor, Joseph Breen. When he reviewed the script, Breen noted that at the end of the film, Marie is presumably leaving prison to join a house of prostitution. Somehow, writer Bernie Schoenfeld convinced Breen that his script was simply emphasizing the fact that she had some talent as a booster, meaning in underworld slang, a pickpocket. Other things, however, didn't make it past the PCA, like drug use. During her undercover research, Virginia Kellogg was amazed by the prevalence of narcotics in prisons, and to that end, she created a character called Twitch, an obvious addict. Breen would have none of it, and Twitch didn't make it into the final draft. It'd be another 5 years before The Man with the Golden Arm, released without the PCA's approval, put the subject of drug addiction on American movie screens. Smoochie, played by Jan Sterling, is the rare character of this era actually ID'd as a CP, common prostitute. There are dozens of films in which prostitution is inferred, but only a handful where it's openly stated. Producer Jerry Wald had to be a very persuasive man to get that past Breen and his minions. Although the PCA gave ground, the film still suffered cuts in regions that had their own censor boards, while Pennsylvania and Kansas banned the film outright. As for Hope Emerson, rest assured that in real life she was nothing like her character in this film. She began in vaudeville as a kid and became a popular nightclub performer, singing bawdy songs and playing a mean boogie-woogie piano. When Robert Siodmak cast her in Cry of the City, she hadn't been in a film in more than 10 years. That 1948 noir rejuvenated her acting career, which sadly lasted only another 12 years. In the late 50s, she was great as Mother on the TV series Peter Gunn, which earned her an Emmy nomination. But she died shortly after of liver disease at only 62 years of age. Next week on Noir Alley, I'm showing another film with an original story by Virginia Kellogg, one with quite a few more men in it than today's offering. Come back next weekend for T-Men, the initial collaboration between director Anthony Mann and cinematographer John Alton. Until then, see you in the shadows.
Next on TCM, The Ritz, then Petulia, and later, The Scarlet Coat. It's jacket required on TCM tonight.